Welcome to the second crochet challenge for Warm Up America in 2019. This is the first time we've ever done 2 challenges in the same year, and I couldn't be more excited. Now, I want to keep this tutorial focused on the pattern because I know you're really anxious to get started. So for all of the challenge details, please visit BHooked.com/WUA2019 for those challenge details, how to participate, who your donations will go to this time around, and of course the wonderful prizes you could potentially win for completing the challenge. All right, let's get to it. This pattern is broken down into 4 sections: the band, the hand, the thumb, and the fingers. These gloves are worked from the band to the fingertips, so we'll start first with the band. Make 29 chains. Then join with a slip stitch to the first chain, being careful not to twist it in the process. Now chain 2 and make a double crochet in every single chain. Now at the end of round 1, join with a slip stitch to the second chain. Now chain 2 and front post double crochet. Then back post double crochet. And that's the repeat for round 2. Front post double crochet, followed by back post double crochet. When you make it to the end of the round, you should end on a back post double crochet. If so, you're on the right track. Then join with a slip stitch to your first front post double crochet. All right, rounds 3 through 5 are worked the same way. Chain 2 at the beginning of each round. Then work your front post, back post double crochet, repeat all the way around. So just what we saw for round 2. Now to simplify things even more, you'll make a front post double crochet for every front post double crochet you come across, and a back post double crochet for every back post double crochet that you come across. Now don't forget, at the end of those rounds, join with a slip stitch to your first stitch of that round. All right, round 5 concludes the band. Now do a quick stitch count check. You should have a total of 28, and we're moving on now to the hand. So there's a little bit of shaping involved in the hand. On one side, we have the thumb gusset, and on the other side, we're just increasing a tiny bit so we can increase the diameter of the hand. For these increases, you'll need 4 stitch markers total, preferably in 2 different colors to help you keep track of the thumb gusset increases and the increases on the other side of the glove. All right, from the join, count over to the 13th stitch and place a stitch marker there. Then count 3 more stitches over from that to the 16th stitch and place a marker in the same color in that stitch. These mark the increase points for the diameter increases. So on the side of the hand where we're just making it a little bit bigger, We'll pick up on the gusset in round 3, so we're not worrying about that one right now. All right, for round 1 of the hand, chain 2 and double crochet to your first marker. When you get to that marker, make 2 double crochets in that marked stitch, replacing the marker in the first of those 2 stitches you just made. Now double crochet to the next marker and make 2 double crochets there. Replace that stitch marker in the second of those 2 stitches. All right, now double crochet in each stitch to the end of the round. And then join with a slip stitch to the second chain. Now you might be wondering why I'm making 2 chains here instead of 3. Honestly, it's personal preference, really. I think the height of 2 chains is a little more on point with the height of my double crochet stitches, so the join for me is a little cleaner. All right, at the end of round 1 of the hand, you'll have 30 stitches. Now moving on to round 2, chain 2 and double crochet to the first marker. You'll make 2 double crochets in that marked stitch, replacing the marker in the first of those 2 stitches. Now double crochet to the end of the round. We're ignoring the second marker here. You'll double crochet in the marked stitch just once and replace the marker in the new stitch you made. Now a little side step here. For this challenge, you're encouraged to be super creative with color. You can do anything you like. I'm going to have just a single stripe in my gloves in this pair that I'm making, but do as much color or as little color as you want. Now this is how I recommend adding a new color at any point when you're ready to do so within this pattern. So when you're ready to join the last round in the old color, insert your hook into the second chain, then make a slip knot with your new color, place that on your hook, and then pull it through the chain and the slip stitch to complete the join of the round, and also it's fastening on this new color. All right, back to round 2. Join whether you're making a color change or not to that second chain, and of course you'll have 31 stitches at the end of this round. Okay, in round 3, you'll start adding the thumb gusset. So chain 2 to start off the round and make 2 double crochets in the next stitch. Grab a stitch marker in a different color than the 2 you're already working with and place that in the second of those 2 stitches you just made. Then we'll double crochet to the next marker and make 2 double crochets there. Replace your marker in the first of those 2 stitches. Then double crochet to the next marker and make 2 double crochets in that marked stitch. Then replace the marker in the second of those 2 stitches. All right, now double crochet to the last stitch and make 2 double crochets in the last stitch. And we'll place another marker in the same color as your other thumb gusset marker. You'll add that to the first of those 2 stitches. Then join with a slip stitch to your second chain. Do a quick stitch count check. You should have a total of 35 stitches now. Okay, we're done with the markers on the opposite side of the join. So remove those, but keep your thumb gusset markers. Now we have a bit of a repeat here. Rounds 4 through 8 are worked exactly the same. We'll begin each of those rounds with 2 chains. Then double crochet to the first marker and make 2 double crochets in the marked stitch. Again, replacing the marker in the second of those 2 stitches. Then double crochet to the next marker. Make 2 double crochets in the marked stitch. And replace that marker in the first of those 2 stitches. Then double crochet to the end of the round and join with a slip stitch to your second chain. You'll increase by 2 stitches every single round, and so by the end of round 8, you'll have a total of 45 stitches. That's all there is to the hand. Go ahead and remove your thumb gusset markers and we'll move on to the thumb. All right, count over from the end of that last round, count 8 stitches over and place a marker there. Chain 2 and double crochet in the next 4 stitches. Then double crochet the next stitch and your marked stitch, catching both layers. Now you have to flip your glove over here so you're working now on the back side of the thumb. Make 1 double crochet until you get to the end of the round. Then join with a slip stitch to your second chain and do a quick stitch count. You'll have 13 stitches at the end of this round. All right, now rounds 2 through 4 are worked exactly the same way. Chain 2 to begin each round, then double crochet in every stitch. Then join with a slip stitch to the second chain. Okay, round 5 is the final round of the thumb. Chain 2, then double crochet 3 together. And we'll do that 3 more times. Double crochet 3 together, 3 more times. Then at the end, we'll join with a slip stitch to the first stitch and fasten off. Now all the fingers are closed up in the same way, so we'll have a close look at it here in the thumb, and you'll do the same thing for your other fingers later on in the tutorial. So thread the tail on your darning needle and run it in and out of each stitch. Then pull on that to draw it up, and then run the tail around the top to secure any potential holes you might have or gaps, and then of course to hide the tail. When it's nice and secure, run it through the middle and trim the excess on the inside. That's all for the thumb. Now moving on to the fingers. So we need to add a little more height before we get into crocheting each finger. So we're continuing with the hand rounds. We ended off on round 8 before, so we're picking up on round 9. Fasten on in the 16th stitch from the thumb. And chain 2. Then double crochet in the next 15 stitches. This will work you around to your thumb stitches, so make a double crochet catching both of those thumb stitches, both layers. Now double crochet to the end of the round. And join with a slip stitch to your second chain. Now you'll have a total of 32 stitches at the end of this round. Okay, rounds 10 and 11 are worked the same way. You'll start each round with chain 2 and then double crochet in every stitch. Then of course at the end of each round, you'll join with a slip stitch to your second chain. Your stitch count will stay the same here, 32 stitches. We'll use stitch markers to section this opening into 4 finger holes, so you'll need 3 stitch markers here. Start counting from the chain 2 and place your marker in the 4th stitch. Place another marker in the 8th stitch and your 3rd marker in the 12th stitch. Then as you're counting around, pair that 12th stitch marker with the 21st stitch. Then pair the 8th stitch marker with the 24th stitch. And pair the 4th stitch marker with the 28th stitch. It should look something like this when you're done. Okay, now we'll start with the pinky finger first. Chain 2 and double crochet in the next 3 stitches. Make 2 double crochets in the marked stitches, catching both layers. Then make 2 double crochets in the next stitch and 1 double crochet in each stitch to the end. You'll of course join with a slip stitch to your second chain and count to make sure you have 10 Pinkie stitches. Rounds 2 through 4 are worked exactly the same. You'll chain 2 at the beginning of every round and double crochet in every stitch. Then of course you'll join at the end with a slip stitch to your second chain. Alright, now round 5 is the final round for the Pinkie. Chain 2 and double crochet 3 together. Now double crochet 3 together 2 more times. And join with a slip stitch to your first stitch. Fasten off and secure the opening like we saw for the thumb. Now moving on to the ring finger, fasten on in the Pinkie stitch and chain 2. Double crochet in the same stitch as your chain. Then double crochet in the next 3 stitches. Now make 2 double crochet in the marked stitches, again catching both layers. Then make 2 double crochets in the next stitch. And 1 double crochet in each remaining stitch. Now join with a slip stitch to your second chain and count to make sure you have 11 stitches. Rounds 2 through 6 are worked exactly the same. Chain 2 and double crochet in every stitch. Then join with a slip stitch to the second chain. Round 7 will finish off the ring finger. Chain 1 and double crochet in the next. Then double crochet 3 together 3 times. Then join with a slip stitch to your first stitch, fasten off, and finish it up. Okay, moving on to the middle finger now. Fasten on in the ring finger stitch. Chain 2 and make 2 double crochets in the same stitch. Double crochet in the next 3 stitches. Then make 2 double crochets in the marked stitches, catching both layers. Make 2 double crochets in the next stitch. And 2 double crochets in the last stitch. Then join with a slip stitch to your second chain and you'll have 12 stitches. Rounds 2 through 6 are worked the same way. Chain 2 and double crochet in every stitch. And join with a slip stitch to your second chain. All right, round 7 is the final round for the middle finger. Chain 1 and double crochet 2 together. Then double crochet 3 together 3 times. Then join with a slip stitch to your first stitch, fasten off, and finish it up. Last but not least, the index finger. So fasten on in the middle finger stitch, chain 2, and double crochet in the same stitch. Then double crochet in the next 4 stitches. And make 2 double crochets in the next stitch. From there, you'll make 1 double crochet in each stitch to the end of the round. Join with a slip stitch to the second chain, and you'll have a total of 11 stitches at the end of this round. Rounds 2 through 5 are worked exactly the same. Chain 2 at the beginning and double crochet in every stitch. Then join with a slip stitch to your second chain at the end of each of those rounds. Now round 6 wraps up the index finger. Chain 1 and double crochet in the next. Then double crochet 3 together 3 times. Then join with a slip stitch to your first stitch, fasten off, and finish it up. The last thing you'll need to do is weave in your ends. I like to do that on the inside of the glove so that it's nice and tidy. And the really cool thing about this pattern is that the gloves look exactly the same on both sides. So rather than have confusing instructions for the right hand and the left hand, all you need to do is follow the same set of instructions for your second glove. Now please visit the challenge page at bhooked.com/WUA2019 for instructions on where to send your gloves for the Made with Love Crochet Challenge for Warm Up America. The hat pattern will be released on November 16th at noon Eastern Standard Time, so keep making as many gloves as you possibly can between now and then, and come back to find the hat pattern so you can get started on that part of the challenge. Thank you so much for all your hard work.